Hello everyone, welcome to Grace Hollow Rabbitry. I am PJ and we are in Northwest Arkansas. I am a ARBA registered rabbitry, and here at Grace Hollow I raise New Zealand's primarily in blue and broken blue, but I also have black and broken black. And recently I've started a small herd of silver fox. Currently I have three blue silver fox and only one three blue silver fox and one buck that is black. Right now you cannot show and earn legs on blue, but you can on the black. So primarily I'm going to be focusing on the blue, and hopefully in the upcoming years, hopefully we'll get the blue passed and they'll be accepted. I think someone is also working on chocolates out there. There's a COD on blues and chocolates. So they're both works in progress, and hopefully someday we will be able to show them and earn legs and earn grand championships. In the meantime, I will be showing both blue and black, and just establishing my blue herd and making it the best that I know how to make it. Just as I do with my New Zealands. I'm just going to give it my best shot, ask for God's blessing, and with His good grace, hopefully I'll develop. Today, on this week's question and answer, just recently, I think it was more of a comment than it was a question, but I don't know, it really made me think about it. The comment was something about they had been watching my videos for, a few years or so, and my rabbits are always healthy. How do I keep them so healthy? And I think the question was more geared towards like a routine medical prevention thing, and there's really nothing that I do for that. When I had New Zealand Reds, because the Reds were so prone to getting gestational bloat, I did treat them with ARBA at 6 weeks and 9 weeks, and then again at 12 weeks, and then that was all that I did with them. And it helped tremendously, but it didn't stop the issue, and which, by the way, is one of the reasons I no longer raise New Zealand Reds. Is I just the bloat issue. I hated losing my red babies. I hate losing any babies, but I lost so many reds to bloat. I've never had that issue with the whites. I've never had it with my blacks, never had it with my blues, and I've never had it of my broken black or broken blue. Broken reds, yes, not as much as the solid reds, but I did have some. But anyway, now that I don't have the New Zealand Reds, I don't have a use for the ARBA anymore. I haven't seen a rabbit with bloat here in the barn. I would say it's getting pretty close to a year now. Whenever my last litter of Reds was, I just haven't seen it. The only other time that I've seen it in the black or the blue or the broken up is if I had a litter of Reds that had the bloat, and my whites were, well, I don't think I've ever had it with white, but with my blacks and my blues, the only other time I've had a bloat issue with them is if I had another litter the same age, weaned, sitting next to the Reds, and it seemed to be contagious from the Reds. The Reds would get it first, and then a few days later, a week or two, I would see it in the blacks in the pen next to them or whatever. So now that the Reds are gone, I don't have a use for the ARBA. I haven't used it. I have no intentions of using it. Now that I have that issue out of my herd, the first sign I see of it, I'm going to call it. I'm just not willing to go through that process again, and I don't want it to develop in the herd that I have now. So if I see it, it's gone. The rabbit's just gone. Why do I think my rabbits tend to stay so healthy? I think it's cleanliness. I think that goes a long way. I just don't, and I'm afraid to say this. I don't want to brag. I'm not trying to brag. Someone asked me this question, and I'm doing the best I can to honestly answer it. But I'm afraid of making these statements because I'm afraid I'm going to jinx myself. I'm afraid if I say I don't get sick rabbits, I'm going to have my whole barn sick. So hopefully that's not going to happen. But I since the reds have been gone, I've not had very many instances. I'm going to put it that way. I've just not had the misfortunate experience right now with the bloat or other issues, and I hope that continues. But I contribute that to a clean barn. I keep it as clean as I can. I keep my cages clean, my feeders clean, my waters clean. I try to keep toenails trimmed, that way they don't scratch themselves and get infections, or I try to make sure my cages are in good repair, and that way they don't get injured on their cage. If you end up with an open wound or something, you know, especially this time of year when the flies and the gnats are out, you know, you can end up with what is that, bot fly, or anyway, whatever it's called. I have seen it in the past, and it's ugly. I don't want to deal with that. And so I try to keep the toenails trimmed. I try to keep them from injuring themselves. You know, keep them in good shape. Now, one thing I think we all struggle with from time to time is ear mites. You know, out here in the carport, everything is metal. My cages are metal. My building is metal. Nest boxes are metal. I just almost rarely do I have an ear mite problem in my metal barn. I just rarely have that issue. In the wood barn, I see it more frequently, more than I would like to see it. It's not often, but it does show up every once in a while. That's why I don't like the wood barn. I'm going to get rid of it, just basically for that reason. Plus, the wood, maybe it's because I used untreated wood. I think that's mainly the biggest thing. I used untreated wood because I didn't want the rabbits chewing on wood and getting chemicals into their systems and possibly making them sick or whatever. So at the time, I thought untreated wood was a good idea. Hindsight, I'm not so sure that it is. I think it encourages the growth of ear mites. Maybe not. I don't know, but that's my theory. That's what I'm going to say, and you can run with it and have your own opinion about that. But my opinion is the untreated lumber that I used to build this barn promotes ear mites. I don't see it often, but I do see it a lot more often in the wood barn than I do out here. And so I'm in the process trying to save up money, get a new barn, and it's all going to be wood, or all going to be metal, no wood. And so that's it. So what I'm telling a long story to get around saying is I think, you know, the best thing to keep your rabbits healthy is, first of all, keep them clean. Get yourself into a routine. Find a routine that works for you. And I know it's hard. You know, I'm a mother of 6. You know, once upon a time I worked a full-time job. Many times I worked a full-time job and a part-time job, and then I was still raising rabbits, raising kids, and trying to get it all worked in. And that's difficult, but for the health of your rabbits, make the time. Keep your feeders, you know, get into a routine. I know what I do. It doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I clean my cages, my feeder, and my water every time a doe is due. And then, you know, when I wean a litter, or, when I flip the nest box over and the litter comes out of the box and they start eating out of the feeder and the water bowl and on the cage floor, I clean it again. So that's twice in roughly 3 weeks that my does get their entire cage cleaned, their cage, their feeder, and the water bowls. So keep that in mind. And then I have to say, my bucks, they don't quite get the attention that my does do, and that's probably neglect on my part. Now, it's not like they get dirty or go to waste. They don't. I keep them clean too, but they don't get the quite the detail attention that my does do. They're not going to have babies with them. They get bred, they go back to their cage. Well, they stay in their cage for breeding, but and I don't move my bucks in different cages very often. They have a cage, and they usually keep that cage for a good long while. To where the does, sometimes I'll rotate them out. If I, like right now, I have, I'm using these as my doe pens. I've got 16, so I've got 16 brood pens, but I currently have 19 does, and so I have 3 outside. And so I kind of rotate them. When they're having babies, I put them in here. When they're resting, I put them up there. And so I want to, get that back into the where I have a brood cage for each brood doe, and they end up staying in their pen. They don't move often, but they do. Anytime I move a rabbit, you clean the cage. So it's just get yourself into a routine. Keep everything clean. Keep your floor. You're not going to keep your floor clean, okay? Don't even expect to keep your floor clean. Well, unless you have the drop pans, then you might can, but even then, those rabbits are going to miss from time to time, and you're not going to keep it sanitary clean all the time. You're just not. I have wood or dirt floors. No way I'm keeping this clean, but I try not to let it pile up too much. You want it to dry as quickly as it can. Unfortunately, where I'm at, I'm right off a creek. This time of year, it's wet and it stays wet. There's not a lot I can do about that other than move. Move to a dry climate, and I don't want to do that. So, but you want to keep it as clean as you can and let it get as much fresh air as it can. Otherwise, it's going to grow flies and gnats, and you're going to have all kinds of uglies underneath your cage that you don't want. So keep them clean underneath as much as you can. If you do use the drop pans, keep them clean. Get them emptied, wash them, sanitize them. If you use shavings or any kind of materials inside, mosquitoes are out. If you use any material inside your trays, make sure you keep that fresh and clean and rotated frequently. So that's really all I can tell you. I don't routinely deworm my rabbits. I know a lot of people do. I don't. I know some breeders like to give their rabbits probiotics. I don't do that. There's a vaccine that a lot of them use. I've considered it. Currently, I do not. I have considered it mostly for my show stock, not necessarily, in my barn. I operate mostly because of convenience, but I'm so far out in the boondocks. Nobody wants to drive out here to look at my rabbitry or my rabbits. And so for the most part, I run a closed rabbitry. Very often, or not very often, do I have visitors into my rabbitry. And I think that's a good thing. I try to promote that when someone's driving. And most of the time, they're driving a good long way to come see me or to see my rabbit or pick up a rabbit. And so I offer to meet them, out in a public area. And a lot of reasons for that. Mostly and primarily for the convenience of them. I live 18 miles out of town on the old dirt road, and you know, a lot of people don't want to drag their vehicles out here, and I don't blame them. But so for convenience of the buyer, I offer to meet them in a public area in town, a lot easily accessible than what it is to come out here. I also do that for protection of my rabbits. That way, you know, if they have chickens or rabbits at home, you don't know what they have. You know, you got someone coming from Craigslist, or you got someone coming from newspaper, or neighbor said you might, you know. You don't know what's on their shoes. You don't know what's on their hands. And so you really don't want them in here handling your rabbit and your rabbit materials. So this way, you know, running a closed rabbitry I think is ideal. Now I'm not opposed to if someone hey, I'm interested in buying rabbits from you, but before I do, I want to come and see if you have clean rabbits in a clean barn. You know, I'm not opposed to letting them come visit me and my rabbits. I would do that, but I would ask them to, you know, use some hand sanitizer and before handling, you know, any of my equipment or my rabbits. That might be rude, maybe, I don't know, but it's just the way I would do it. And then for another reason is my safety. I'm, you know, basically on my own most of the time, so I don't want, you know, some stranger coming in and scoping out my property, or you know, or me, and then them come back another time uninvited and unwelcomed. So there's a lot of reasons why I operate a closed rabbitry, but the you know, first and foremost reason is for the safety of my rabbits, to keep them healthy and keep them clean. And so I guess that's really all I have as far as answering the question, why are my rabbits so healthy? Good luck. That's basically it. You know, I feed them well. I give them clean water every day. Their bowls get rinsed out, and if it needs washing before the end of the week, you know, I'll wash it 2 or 3 times a week if I need to, especially with the babies. They get dirty very fast, and so they do get washed very frequently. But every day they get rinsed out and clean water twice a day. I'm out here 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening. The whole herd gets fresh, clean water twice a day. Good food, clean water, clean cages, clean equipment. Keep them clean. Keep their toenails trimmed so that they don't injure themselves, and doing that I've had excellent luck. God's grace, I guess, just watching over me and my herd. Just good luck. But I do think cleanliness is the #1 most important thing you can do to keep your herd. Hey, I'm going to leave some links down below, one to my webpage, one to my fan page, one to my personal Facebook page, one to my email, just in case you want to enter the $100 giveaway, and one to the video that talks about that. It's a way to earn $100 if you want to design a logo for me, and if I use the logo that you design, I'm going to give you $100, or you can choose a rabbit from whatever is available at that time. Entry deadline ends June 1st at midnight, so get your entries in before then, and we'll make some decisions sometime in June, and hopefully someone will come up with something that I like. Thanks for watching, and until we speak again, God bless.